Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And the ultimate job interview is back here on the Ground and Pound podcast, Dana White's Contender Series, Week 6. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Carlos. What's happening, Carlos?
Absolutely nothing, brother.
And we're going to kick things off in Dana White's Contender Series with the first opening bout here. And we have Rafael Ochogbu taking on Cody Chovansky. Pretty sure I butchered that one. But Carlos, who you got in this opening bout?
Okay, I'm just gonna say sorry, everybody. Again, thought I'd be over this cold, but it lives on. So let's get to it. I went with Uchegbu. What I got is both men seem to be a little safe when they fight. They're kind of like a counter fighter. Both well versed in the disciplines that are necessary to compete in MMA. Um, I want to say this one right. Chovansek. He'll offer more offensively, but not the best defensively. He's got a lot of openings because he doesn't bring his hands back and he kind of moves around with his hands down in close. Um, will turn his head, kind of blade his body. You know, when met with one or two strikes, I go. The problem with that is it leaves you easier to get taken down, rip your lead leg, all that good stuff. But yeah, like for having nearly 10 years of MMA experience under his belt, technically and tactically, like he doesn't look very efficient sometimes. Okay, so I I ended up going with Uchegbu because he looks not to be the aggressor, but he does look good defensively. Offensively, he doesn't throw like a lot of nonsense strikes at people, and he's kind of efficient with his striking. And he will create openings with his feet. He will create openings with his jab that'll lead to. The only thing he'd have to do is try to exploit that, and in most of his fights, he has been able to. So I think it's going to be kind of a boring fight, but I think Uchegbu is going to get this done.
A little bit of dissension to start things off here for Week 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. Give me Cody here, man. I wasn't too impressed with the Chugbu. Fought over in Bellator and PFL, obviously two higher level promotions known inside of MMA. 2-0 inside Bellator, 0-1 inside the PFL. Some of the positives that I like for Rafael Chugbu here is that the back leg of him, when he's throwing that rear kick, whether it be to the body, the head, or ripping the calf, it is very nice. It is very, very hard. He is doing a good job of being able to utilize that weapon. Known more for his, jiu-jitsu and really just top game. When he is in a dominant position on the ground, he knife through butter when it comes to passing people's guard. I just don't think he has the wrestling to get a lot of fights to the ground, especially at a higher level. When you look at some of his performances, I've seen him get out wrestled by guys who are known as Muay Thai fighters and strikers. He did a good job of being able to outlast some of his fights later on. He gets taken down, beaten up, and he does a good job of being able to come back. The cardio is pretty decent. He does leave his chin up in the air at times, and that has me worried here against a guy like Cody. Trains over at Niagara top team. That'd be quite funny if he trained over in Nigeria, top team. But trains with guys like Aaron Jeffries, Jasmine Jazz Davicius, and Mike Malott, some high-level UFC talent. He has very much a noticeable, powerful right hand, very nice hooks, good power in the hands when it comes to the boxing. He throws nice combinations in the pocket. And I think that Achukbu's going to get caught here. I think that his kicks aren't going to be able to keep Cody at range. I think Cody's going to be able to walk him down and use his boxing, really rip, kind of to the body and then come upstairs. And I could see Cody getting the knockout here. That's what I'm going to predict here. I'm going to say first or second round knockout for Cody with the power in the hands. He doesn't throw a ton of kicks, so I think that he knows here that he's got to keep this one on the feet. He does have decent jiu-jitsu himself, so I'm not necessarily worried if the fight does hit the mat. I think this one mostly plays out on the feet, however, and I think Cody's going to pressure here, corral the kicker, and ultimately use his boxing and find the knockout. Ooh, wrong way, ladies and gentlemen. And next up, we have Inso Hugh taking on Paddy McCory, and I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this one?
I am going with Inso Huang on this one. Looks very comfortable in striking. Has the majority of his finishes by KO. One thing I'm not a fan of is when he's pulling back out of the pocket. He just extends his arms and leans his head back. I could actually see at some point in this fight where McCory could actually land an overhand as he follows him out. But as of right now, nobody has done that to Huang. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna say it's probably not gonna happen, but it's something I can see happening. With Huang, the reason why I'm going with him is although Corey McCory has decent striking, decent takedown defense, it looks like Huang's striking is maybe he got a little more power than I think. He's got very hard leg kicks, and like I said, he's winning the majority of his fights by KO, and he's landing some heavy punches. So I'm gonna go with the heavy-handed Huang on this one. And like I said, McCory can clip him because he does leave his chin up. Excuse me, when he leans back. But I feel that with those vicious leg kicks that he throws, the heavy hands, he did train out of the Stun Kun gym there. I feel that he'll be able to even flow better on the mat because when you watch his takedown defense, he's very technical. I've seen him get taken down. He was very technical getting back up. So I'm going to go with Wang.
More dissension here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Give me Paddy here, 4-over in Cage Warriors. Obviously likes to switch stances. I'm not sure. I want to say that he was on the Ultimate Fighter at some point. Don't quote me on that if my memory serves me. I like the fact that he switches stances. He's going to be able to give Huang a different look here. I think that he's also a very creative striker. When you watch tape on this guy, he's always looking to kind of catch his opponent off guard. He's not necessarily looking to stay fundamental at times, which I think could give Huang a little bit of trouble here. When you see him switch stances, he'll throw, a rear kick to the calf, then he'll kind of sometimes throw spinning back kicks. He'll leap into the pocket, which does have me a little bit worried at times. He'll just kind of be, kind of in a flow state in there. And I like that him in this fight here. I think that the way that Huang fights, he's very much, like Carlos said, a pressure forward style fighter, very heavy hands, does have a lot of power. He did fight over on the road to UFC. And one thing that I've noticed over time here with road to UFC fighters is on the Asian regional scene, they're not necessarily as high a level as you would expect some of the fighters are over in Europe and over in the States. So I'm not necessarily sold on the 8-1 all knockout Juan record here. Obviously, he does have power in the hands. I haven't seen a whole lot of his grappling. So I do think that if Paddy does want to take this fight to the ground, maybe we could see a hole in Juan's game. I do think that Juan is talented. I do think that he can knock people out. He definitely has that sort of one-hitter quitter. But I've seen enough out of Paddy over in Cage Warriors that I think he's well-versed. He can mix it up. He can kind of use more of a full MMA skill set here to get the win. I think, again, both of these guys are good, fun to watch on tape. Definitely a good fight to watch if you, kind of circle a fight on this Contender Series. I think this is one of the better matchups here. It could definitely be a good fight, but give me the creativity of Paddy here to get this one done. If he wants to mix in grappling, I think that would work. I really just think that Juan's looking for that big shot, and I don't necessarily think that that's going to be there against a guy in Paddy who's had a little bit more experience over in Cage Warriors with the higher level competition. And next up, we have Thomas Gant taking on Adam Livingston. I'm going to pass this one to you, Carlos. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm going to go with Thomas Gant on this. I think Gant can keep this fight close, in close range in the clinch. Probably be able to get this to the ground as well. Use some of that wrestling, try to improve your position. Probably make sure you have to win the scrambles. That's going to be big for him because I have seen Livingston in a scramble getting off the mat, and he seemed pretty good and able to create distance and strike off that. So that's something that Gant's going to have to worry about. So when it comes to Livingston, he's going to have to make this kind of a dirty fight, and he's going to have to time Gant on the way in. He's going to have to time him as he's getting out of the pocket, and that's when he's going to have to do most of his damage. So on the way in, he's going to have to throw in combination. On the way out, he's going to have to follow in combination. Sometimes Gant tends to leave with his hands down when he leaves the pocket. So that's where you're going to have to pick your spots. I do think that he can create distance, and I do think that he can do some damage in the clinch. I do think Gant offers more damage in the clinch because of those knees, the elbows he likes to throw. He likes to throw kicks, Gant. He likes to throw kicks and punches from the outside. but they're not really anything that's very devastating. It just leads to him being able to close the distance and get inside. So I'm going to go with Thomas Gant on this one.
Is this going to be the first time that Carlos and I pick every single fight differently on a card? Because usually there's a couple that we agree on, but I'm going to go with Livingston here. It's tough. I think this is probably for me the hardest fight to call on this Contender Series card. When you've got Gant, obviously a high level wrestler, 10-0 confidence. But when you look at the level of competition that he's fought, he's fighting over in Iowa, and some of these guys that he's fighting on the regional scene, they are the bottom of the barrel. Some guys, or a lot of the guys, losing records as well. Like Carlos mentioned, in the clinch, Gant is very successful. He loves to throw knees. He loves to throw elbows. I saw one fight where he literally was like spamming this guy with elbows up against the fence, and how that guy didn't fall, I don't know. He is very measured on the feet, and I wonder sometimes if he gets away from the wrestling and he falls in love with, kind of hitting people in the face. And I do think that Livingston's got a good skill set here to kind of keep this one on the feet and maybe have a little bit more success. He's fought over in LFA, which is obviously a well-known up-and-coming promotion. I say up-and-coming. It's pretty much well-known now on the regional scene to be one of the better promotions. Good forward pressure. It's very measured, very technical. And I got him down here as a guy that's, a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that skill set in terms of MMA is going to be a very, very good, well-rounded skill set in order to beat a guy like Gant here. The boxing is good. He throws in combination. I think that he can just stay a little bit more fundamental here than Gant, who likes to kind of mix things up and kind of throw spinning attacks or elbows or clinch and wrestle. Sometimes he can kind of just be a little bit too wild, where instead of just sticking to a game plan of wrestling. And I think if Gant does decide, hey, I'm just going to come out here, I'm just going to wrestle fuck this guy for 3 rounds, he definitely could. I just don't trust him to do that. Give me Livingston here. I think he's going to sprawl and brawl, keep this one on the feet, ultimately have the harder hitting punches, and maybe win a decision here, just keeping this one on the feet and ultimately winning it with the boxing. And that brings us to the co-main event here on Dana White's Contender Series. And if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button, as I'm about to butcher both of these names. If we have Muhammad Ali taking on Aaran Carlos. Carlos, good luck with that name. Who you got in this matchup?
I'm going with Muhammad Ali in this one. Brzezinski has a competitive judo background and a strong background in MMA at the international level. Although his striking and his movements are a little awkward when it comes to pure MMA, it's because his striking comes from pure MMA, and you just throw what works pretty much. That's why it looks so different. And Ali, although he has a huge pedigree in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the World Championship level, Pan Am Games, at the World Tournament. He looks very comfortable on the feet. It could be the type of opponent, the level of opponent that he is fighting, but he's able to pull off some crazy moves to get some finishes. Like he's landing high kicks, some spinning moves. I just think that at this level, he might not be able to pull that off against Baranowski, but I also think that Baranowski is also very he's not very skilled in the stand-up either, so it leaves it open for Ali, because defensively, Baranowski fights like an MMA fighter, hands down, just kind of stands in, bounces in and out. So I'm going to go with Ali on this one. I feel that, yes, he is new, but I feel that his comfort level on the feet will have to be tested in this fight, and I feel that he's actually going to pass that test, probably get Baranowski to the ground, and he'll find success, whether it's standing or on the mat.
Yeah, honestly, out of some of the fights on this card, I was actually impressed with both guys when I watched tape study on both of these guys. But I'm going to go with Muhammad Ali. I thought there was going to be a dissension in this fight and the main event. But yeah, Muhammad Ali's high-level grappling sold it to me here. Whenever you get a high-level, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Pan Am Games, like Carlos mentioned, it's always interesting to see how they do with the striking. Can they take a punch? Are they physically dominant? And when you look at the striking of Muhammad Ali, one of the first things that stood out to me is he is a little bit low volume. He doesn't necessarily throw combinations, but he stays very measured. He is powerful. Everything seems to hurt when he throws at you. He's got a nice head kick, a nice body kick. And the thing with him is he knows that if he wants to throw those kicks from the outside and really wear on you and beat you up with those kicks, that obviously if the fight hits the mat, he knows that he's going to have success. He's going to be able to choke you out. And when you talk about Barnowski, or I'm sure I'm butchering that name. Power in the hands, very, very tight hooks, nice step in right hand. He does have a nice explosive takedowns, double legs, single legs. And I was impressed with his skill set overall for a 5-0 fighter. He looks to do damage on the ground if he does get the fight to the ground in dominant positions. He's looking to ground and pound you, not necessarily always looking for the submission. And looks very physically strong, very physically dominant in these grappling positions. But I think that realistically, Muhammad Ali's skill set here on the ground is just going to be too much for him if the fight does hit the mat. If it stays on the feet, you could definitely knock Muhammad Ali out. Like I said, he has that powerful right hand, nice tight hooks, nothing really thrown straight. So obviously, if he can catch Muhammad Ali on the feet, that's definitely going to be a path of victory for him. But I think at some point, one guy's either going to shoot for a takedown, whether it be out of desperation out of Barnowski after he's been hurt, or Muhammad Ali's going to shoot for a takedown to implement his jiu-jitsu. But either way, I see this one hitting the mat and Muhammad Ali finding the submission or a ground and pound into a submission sort of style finish here, ultimately getting the contract. He looks decent. He looks fairly impressive, and I think he gets the win here. And that brings us to the main event. And if you're enjoying the content, you know what to do. Hit that like and subscribe button as we break down Markson Lee taking on Hector Souza. Carlos, who you got in this bantamweight main event?
I ended up going with Max and Lee in this one. Both guys are very physical. Love to press the action. Can sense when their opponent's hurt. Love fighting in close quarters, throwing knees, throwing hooks, throwing elbows. Uh, I like the kid Sosa. I think he's very talented. I think that he could also find a way to win as well. Like I could see him landing like some big overhand, or when Max and Lee, who likes to throw a lot of spinning attacks, like when he goes to spin, he could take his back or get him to the ground. Like I could see Sosa, you know, sorry, I could see him getting the better in those exchanges. But I can also see like this is Sosa's first time fighting someone who's 6'1", 135 with that long reach. And it might take him a little while to be able to figure out and get the range and the distance that makes him feel comfortable. So not to say that he's going to get beat up, but he might just get outmanned in this because too many different physical advantages that Max and Lee bring. So I am going to go with Lee in this one, but Sosa could do some damage and get this done as well. But I'm taking Lee.
Yeah, great fight, great main event. Both of these guys, I think you could see on the prelims of a UFC card, that's for sure. And when you talk about Markson Lee, I mean, 6'1" at bantamweight, we don't often see that. Very tall, rangy striker, nice right hand, straight shots down the pipe when it comes to the boxing. And the thing that you really notice, and Carlos and I were saying this before we started recording, is he loves that spinning wheel kick. Carlos was saying to me, watch one fight, he throws like 4 of those in one fight. Something I definitely think he needs to cut out once he gets into sort of a heavy, an opponent with very, high level wrestling at bantamweight. I do think that he could get taken, ducked underneath, taken down, and ultimately held down off of his back. But the possession, the difficulty with him is those long limbs that he has at 6'1" at bantamweight, gives him a lot more opportunities to cinch up chokes, whether that be, darces and anacondas, triangles off of his back. He's got them in his arsenal. We see, he will throw up those long limbs to try and get the chokes. And he is obviously dangerous in the submission game as well. But I'm actually going to go with Souza, and this is a tough one. I wouldn't be surprised if either guy won. I just think he's a little bit more athletic. I think that he's fought the tougher level of competition. When you look at some of Lee's competition, he's kind of fighting in these kind of backstage, like weird Brazilian promotions. And he could prove me wrong. Like Carlos said, the physical attributes could take over here and it might not necessarily matter. But Souza, to me, he does have nice darce chokes, nice anacondas, nice front chokes as a whole. And when you look at the striking, I just think that other than him leaving his chin up in the air at times, looking to counter, he's got very fast striking, nice kicks as well. And to me, he really looks the part. He's got great jiu-jitsu as well. I just think he looks very, very well-rounded. And the only thing that kind of has me concerned here is that Souza's wrestling, I haven't seen too much of it. He does have body lock trip takedowns, but I think against a tall, rangy guy, it kind of has me worried here in case he gets hurt. He's not going to be able to kind of shoot or panic wrestle if he gets hurt. I think this one plays out mostly on the feet, and it's really just going to come down to who's a little bit more technical. And I do think that Souza maybe might duck underneath one of Lee's shots to try to get the fight to the ground. He's got to be mindful of the jiu-jitsu of Lee, like I said, but ultimately I'm going to go with Hector Souza here. I trust the level of competition a little bit more. He looks very impressive, but I am a little bit worried about the size here of Lee. But ultimately, that's everything here for the Ground and Pound podcast, Dana White's Contender Series Week 6. If you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button. And before we wrap things up, Carlos, is there anything you want to say to the people?
Just want to say thank you guys for bearing with me. I can't tell if my voice sounds terrible on here, but yep, still under the weather. But I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
You sound like a jacked angel, my friend, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.
Peace.